All right, first and foremost, we want to give our praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatham and give a sincere greeting to the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners, teaching His word with sincerity and charity. I am Brother Phoenix with Prince of Power Israelites. Another short lesson for you today. We're gonna go over about 6 or 7 precepts on let the woman learn in silence. Let the woman learn in silence. And I know this is kind of a controversial text. It's kind of controversial scripture within the text. Let the woman learn in silence. Let her be subjection to the man in all things, especially coming out of Christianity, especially coming out of the world system where you have this battle for equality. You have this battle between the matriarchal and the patriarchal order of families, in the feminism versus the men just controlling everything. You have these battles going back and forth, and coming out of that and coming to the text and seeing certain scriptures like this, which we're going to go over today and bring some clarity to these things. We have to go over these things, and it's kind of hard for a lot of sisters to digest these things, and also for brothers to administer the commandments or the statutes that Paul is giving us for the church. And if you don't, then you see certain issues or certain complications end up coming about if you don't get a handle on these things, and the women don't have a good understanding. The sisters don't have a good understanding, good grasp of this text. So we'll start with 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 33. We're going to read to 35. It says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints." All right. And so we got to understand too that he's writing this epistle to Corinth. Corinth is like the Mecca for all other religions. You come there, it's like the Las Vegas of religions. And you can just go and whatever deity you wanted to serve, you can go in there, serve this deity, have orgies with the priestess. And this is what you had. You had a lot of women that were priests in Corinth. And in those certain temples, I know one Diana, in that certain temple, they had women that were, had authority because it were female priests to serve this deity, and you went and had these orgies and slept with these women, and probably gave them oblations or gave them certain offerings or sacrifices before you actually slept with them. And definitely paid also these women. And so you could have trimmed your ways for love in dealing with these women. And then you have these customs bleeding into the church. You have these customs bleeding into the churches that Paul is setting up in Corinth. All right, and let's go back. It says, "Let your women keep silent. Let your women keep silent in the churches. All right, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church." It says, "For God is not the author of confusion." He is not the author of disorder. He is not the author of, that's what confusion is. Confusion is disorder. And when you have women, of certain authority, you have to have order. He establishes the order. You see also in Corinth, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, where he established the order, father, son, man, woman, child. All right, and so he's not the author of confusion. Women are not to exert authority over the man. If they are to learn anything, they need to learn it from their husband. If we go into that word silence, there, it is G4600, and it does mean to keep silence. Segeo. And it does mean to keep silence or to hold thy peace. All right, you had a lot of women that were prophesying, or women going into tongues and disrupting the church. And you have this even in Christianity today, where women will break out in these, these, saying they have the Holy Ghost is what they call the Holy Ghost. All right. But they'll break out into these rants, or into these outbursts where they screaming and shouting, and they may go into what they consider to be tongues, and disrupting the church and causing disorder. I ain't causing disorder. The church kind of adapted to the disorder and just start playing music with the chaos. And everybody, they just give them a praise. They call it a praise break, and everybody just go into the chaos, into the confusion. But we see here that the Most High is not the author of confusion. All right, it says, and they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for the woman to speak in the church. Let them learn from their husband at home. Also, one more note on this particular verse is that they are to be under obedience, as also saith the law. Now, where does it say that the woman is to be in obedience? Well, this is back in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 16. Let's look at that. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. All right, due to the fall, due to the sin, and you putting on the nature of flesh, man has been given the authority to rule over thee. All right, he will rule over thee. Genesis chapter 3 verse 16. So you have to fall in line with that. And if you don't fall in line with that, then it's gonna be disorder. All right, then it's gonna be disorder. All right, so the women are to learn, are to keep silence, all right, in the church. All right, there's no getting around that. First Timothy. Let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to assert authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety. All right, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. All right, with all subjection. Okay, but I suffer not a woman to teach. And we'll get into what the things that a woman should be teaching other women. But she's not supposed to absorb authority over the man. And even when you're going into teaching as a woman and teaching other women the things that you're supposed to be teaching them, you got to prove yourself. You can't just jump out there and try to become a teacher and be there's a burden that comes with teaching. There's a burden that comes with teaching. All right, the scripture said, "Be not many teachers, because you get the harsher judgment." So there's a burden in that. So you make sure that you prove yourself and that you're doing those things. You're rightly aligning yourself with the will of the Father before you go into trying to tell somebody. Because women gonna see the hypocrisy, and they not really. They kind of harsh. They're not, they don't really hold their tongue to the hypocrisy. They may go off somewhere, and they may just kind of just look it off. Or they may say, but then when they go home, they're going to be like, man, you won't believe what your sister tried to sit up here and tell us, man, that she ain't even in order. You know, to tell me about my house, and look at her house. She trying to tell me what to do with my husband, and look at her husband. She trying to tell me how to raise my kids, and look at her kids. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do that. You want to make sure everything that you're doing is aligned to the will of the Father, and that you being that example to the point where these sisters will come up to you and ask you, what's your suggestion to this? How, how should I do this? And we'll get into a lot of that, and how to see those openings and for those teaching moments, because every moment ain't a teaching moment. So we'll look into that also. But it says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection, but I suffer not a woman to teach nor assert authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now this silence here is G2271, Hasukia. All right, I know I done butchered that in the Greek. All right. And if we look at this word, it means quietness. Let the woman learn in quietness. Let the woman learn in silence. Not no disorder, no confusion. No confusion. All right. Now watch this right now. This is another definition here. It says a description of the life of one who stays at home doing his own work and does not officiously meddle with the affairs of others. Let me read that again. A description of the life of one who stays at home doing his own work and does not officiously meddle with the affairs of others. All right, it's a different word being used in the 1 Timothy 2 and 11 than it's being used in the 1 Corinthians 14, 34, 35. All right, it says, let the woman learn in that silence, in that hasukeia. All right, where you're not meddling in others' affairs, your quietness. All right, you're not bringing an uproar, you're not bringing a tumult. All right, but I suffer not a woman. All right, let her learn the silence with all subjection. I suffer not a woman to teach nor assert authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. Adam first formed. And see, we seeing the order again. Watch the order. You know what I'm saying? If I wanted her first to be in authority, if I wanted her to lead, I would have made her first. But I didn't make her first. I made him first. Then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but it was her that was deceived that transgressed. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity and holiness and sobriety. And that sobriety goes into self-discipline, sound doctrine, sound mind. Sound mind, not tossed to and fro between different doctrines, not knowing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, knowing exactly being rightly aligned with the scriptures, and her household is in order. Everything's aligned the way it's supposed to be. Let her be in holiness, set apart, charity, love, and that sobriety, a sound mind. Let's look at Titus chapter 2 and verse 3. All right, Titus chapter 2, verse 3, we're going to read to verse 8. It says, the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teachers of good things. Teachers of good things. All right, we know that the law is holy, just, and good. She needs to be a teacher of good things. All right, the aged woman likewise in the behavior that becometh of holiness, of set apartness. All right, as being separate from the world, not false accusers. And this has to be said because you had women falsely accusing people. You're going to have sisters falsely accusing other sisters falsely accusing brothers. You're going to see these things. All right, these things are going to be happening. This is why it's written in the text. All right, let them be not false accusers, not giving too much wine. Watch some sisters when that wine come out. All right, not giving too much wine. Okay, they can trade you one, but don't give them too much wine. Teachers of good things, that they may be teaching the young women to be sober. All right, and that sober, that sobriety again goes into discipline. All right, letting, showing the young women how to be disciplined, how to mortify their flesh. All right, how to live holy and set apart. All right, to love their husbands, to love their children. All right, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of the Most High be not blasphemed. All right, young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded, also be of sound doctrine, also be of a sound mind and self-discipline, self-control. All right, in all things showing thyself a pattern of good works and doctrine, and showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned. All right, sound speech, self-controlled speech, not blurting out. You know what I'm saying? And that's what, and sisters also, your speech need to be sound. Your speech need to be self-controlled. You know what I'm saying? There are some that's what I'm saying. It's and we're gonna get into, you know what I'm saying, all rebuke. It's a time, it's a moment that you need to do, and it's an art to reproof. It's an art to correction. And you need to know the person. You know what I'm saying? You need to know the person. You need to understand the person before we do these things. You know what I'm saying? Before we go into these things, we need to understand, do they have the type of skin? Can they even take the rebuke? You know what I'm saying? Can they even take the rebuke, or does it, you know what I'm saying, somebody else? Can they take it from you? You know what I'm saying? Do they respect you enough to get the rebuke from you? And we're gonna go into all of these certain issues, but they must be young women. Shalakia, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of the Most High should not go blasphemy. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 4. Let's look at that. It says, nevertheless, filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor gesturing, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. So just get into that jesting. You know what I'm saying? Us making jokes, certain jokes and stuff. Certain things may not be funny to us. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to really understand the person that you're dealing with. That's why you have to prove a friend. That's a Rock 6-7. You have to prove a friend. Because the gesturing and the name calling and the jokes, it may, you know what I'm saying, it may seem like, you know what I'm saying, it's just a slight joke, and they may laugh it off like it didn't really bother them and it just rubbed off of them. But, you know what I'm saying, it can bring offense. It can bring offense, and it's not sound speech, and it can be a speech that can be condemned. And so we have to be mindful of those things, and be careful who we're jesting with, especially amongst sisters. Brothers is a little different. Brothers can handle things a little. Men, we you know, things rub off a little different. We're a little more forgiving. We're a little more forgiving. We give a little more leeway, and we don't bicker like that. That's a female trait. The cat fighting and the going back, that's a female trait. And this is why sisters have to be even more mindful of those things, because we really can't. Men can jank, can you know, we call it janking. You know, some people call it joning, and you know, scripture call it jesting. But we used to do that all the time, man. We'd go on each other and do it all the time. But sister, you can't do that, man. You can't be talking about, man, sister, look at your fringes. They falling all over. Why your fringes look all crusty and crazy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Sister, y'all can't do that. Y'all ain't built like that. You can't take that. Like, sisters gonna take that, man. They gonna take that home with them. They gonna take to their husband. Like, you won't believe what this joker said about my fringes, about my dress. Yeah, I know you like it, but she up here talking crazy about my dress. And then this is the cause thing. Now I got to go talk to her husband, and they gotta have it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, be mindful of that and be careful of that. When you come, especially if you're coming into a new congregation around new people, around new sisters, keep that in mind, that you know, you need to prove a friend. You need to prove them, and don't just throw out them jestings. Don't throw out those, and be transparent with each other. Go ahead and be like, hey, sis, that was a little offensive to me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think that was that funny. You know what I'm saying? That kind of was a little offensive. And then hit it in the butt then. Don't let it linger on and then leave, and then y'all talking about it, you know what I'm saying, weeks and days down the line. Go ahead and nip it then. Hey, I didn't think that was funny. It was a little offensive to me. You know what I'm saying? And then sister can apologize at that very moment, and there's ain't no text messaging going back and forth and all that, because even the text messages you know what I'm saying, that ain't really sound speech, because anybody is putting their own emotions on it. Just like we do the text, sometimes we put our own emotions even on the scriptures. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes it's hard. We miss certain things in the scriptures because we're putting our own voices to it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we want to deal with sound speech. We want to look at each other face to face, and issue out those apologies and hash out these things and be transparent with each other. All right, and that'll build each other up and build up where it becomes a family unit, and so forth. All right, and you can't have respect of persons. All right, you can't have respect of persons either. When you coming in, sisters like to click up. They like to click up. They don't want to deal with other sisters. Or sisters may come. You may be a unity camp, and then the sisters, like, you know, they more camp banging than the Dawn brothers. So you got to be mindful that you don't click up. Don't have a respect of persons, because that goes against the scriptures. Be not a respecter of person. I think it's James 2:9. All right, it says, let's look at Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. That it may minister grace unto the hearers. All right, use no corrupt communication. All right, and you want to use communication that is good for edification. That's edification. And like I said, you got to have the perfect timing for it. You can't be a respecter of person. If you're going to hit this person with it, make sure you bring rebuke to this person also. And again, like I say, sisters like to click up, whether it's click up to age, click up to different camps they're in, click up to lifestyles and trends, or click up to, you know what I'm saying, we wear makeup and these don't really wear makeup, and you know what I'm saying, sisters like to click up. I was actually in a and not to veer off, but I noticed that also when in high school I was the only one in this history class. I took advanced world history, supposed to get a college credit for advanced world history, and they told me, and I was the only male in the class, and everybody thought it was just so great to be the only man in the class, but I got to see the bickering. These women, these sisters did not like it. You had one sisters sitting on one side of the room, and you had the other sisters sitting on the other side of the room. And that was that one clique over there, one clique. If you wouldn't have known that till you went into that certain arena. There's one clique over there, one clique over here. And you can picture that in men and elders, you know what I'm saying? Peep that. Look at the cliques. And try to break those things up, and see why it's clicking up like that, because it's probably somebody has caused some sort of offense, or may have been a bad joke that went wrong or was taken wrong, and they'll you want to nip those things before that smoke starts showing, and before you know it, everything on fire. All right, let's look at Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 1. We're going to read 1 through 4. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out of foolishness. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach of the spirit. All right, perverseness in that tongue can breach the spirit. And again, if it caused the offense, it can cause somebody else to get out of spirit. All right. You are already out of spirit. You already done breached the spirit. Call somebody else to get out of spirit. For y'all both out of the spirit, and worldly things are happening, bickering and fighting, and it may get even physical. And so we want to stop those things. A soft answer sometimes turneth away wrath. All right. So even when somebody approaching you, hot-headed, or have a speech that can be condemned, a soft answer, and that's showing humility. And that's walking in the spirit. When a sister may be even barking at you crazy, and you say, you know what, you right, sis. And you give that soft answer to stop that wrath. Even though that sister may be wrong, you just deal with it. You take that information to the elders, take it to your husband, and let them deal with that thing. We're gonna deal with that. That's gonna be one of the last issues that we deal with. But I just want to clear some things up, get some scriptures out there, and just something for sisters to hold on to and to understand when they dealing amongst each other. Because a lot of times we just want to come and just click up and think that, oh, you wearing fringes, I'm wearing fringes, and we just finna be the best of friends. But y'all need to learn who each other are, man. You need to understand each other. Men are kind of, we kind of pretty much around the same. We have different issues. We've been, we got different lifestyle, but it ain't really hard for us to get along. You know what I'm saying? It ain't really hard for us to get along. And sometimes we can't just let sisters have their way with words and just be barking at each other low key. These things have to be monitored, and they have to be, dealt with. They just have to, because it can get out of hand. It can get out of hand. Sisters won't say nothing until it's completely out of hand, to the point where they can't even talk to each other. All right. All right, we're going to look at Luke chapter 10 and verse 38. And we're going to read through 42. It says, now it came to pass as they went, that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. All right. Martha received him into her house. Um, and she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Yahushua's feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, "Yeah, Lord, doest thou not care that my sister have left me to serve alone? Bid her therefore that she help me." And Yahushua said unto her, "Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful, and Mary has chosen that good part which shall not be taken away from her." Now there's many lessons to be taken from this text. There are many great lessons to be taken from this text, but what I'm dealing with dealing with sisterhood, and how, and the authority that men have in the church over the sisters. We see the order that the Most High has established within this example. All right, sisters, Martha. This is Mary. Mary is her sister. Mary is her sister. Why isn't Martha going to her sister and telling her herself? Why isn't she said, like, she done invited this straight into her house? She done invited Yahweh into her and want her to handle a matter, and goes to him to handle a matter between her and her blood sister who she's been raised with her whole life. She says to him, because he's issuing out the word, they're having church in the house. They're having church in the house. All right. And she's cumbered about with serving and making sure everybody's straight and that whole nine. And Mary is in there getting the word. And Martha looks over there at Mary and gets a form of discontentment, thinking that she done got the short end of the stick, that this ain't right. And sisters can do that with being coveted, looking at somebody else's house, or looking at somebody's husband that got some rank that her husband didn't get the rank. All right. Looking at somebody got a promotion, or looking at how somebody else's kids are moving and running around, and why my kids ain't disciplined and doing, and start thinking, oh, look at their house and how they done, the Most High done blessed them. Why we sit up here and we've been sitting in class and doing, what I'm saying, thing we've been doing the worst. Why ain't it's been our season yet? Thinking that they done got got some discontent. But they'll end up going to the sisters and try to handle that situation themselves. All right. Martha didn't go to Mary because it was going to be out of order. We understand that God is not the author of confusion. He's not the author of disorder. We can't have disorder in the church. And so Martha goes not to Mary, but to the authority, but to the head. And we see that Martha didn't really have a husband. This is her house. But then when another man came in, when Yahushua came in, he handles these matters, and she's telling her, bid her, command her to come help me. Because Martha understood if she did it, that it was going to be some bickering. And it might have messed around and been some hair pulling and some nail scratching and some teeth biting. And it would have been disorder within the church. And it would have caused confusion. And you had disorder before. And this is why we had Paul write this. This is why Paul had to write this text, to tell the woman to remain silent within the church. All right. We do not need the disorder. And to give you, and again, even with those things that you should be teaching the younger sisters, we have to make sure that we're properly in order before we go and do these things, because women are just made different. They handle things different. They're not thick-skinned. They're not thick skinned. They may laugh some things off, but they may not have took it that way. And so we have to be transparent with each other. Sisters, you have to, you know what I'm saying, don't let things go on to the next Sabbath, You just not speak on things. Hit those things out the gate. And if you definitely don't feel comfortable doing it, let your husband do it. Let your husband be the one to say it. Hey, you out of order, and let him go to his other husband, and they handle it, because they have thicker skin. But in this case, yeah, I was just saying, I'm not finna take that away from her, and she had to accept that. Even though she had to show the end, she had to accept that. I'm not taking that away from her. Chill out and continue to do what you do. You chose that. She chose the good part, and that's it. And you need to respect the sister. You gotta expect the, you know what I'm saying, respect the authority. Because this is in the law. To not respect the authority, to not have that man rule over you, is going against Genesis 3:16. It's going against the law. All right, and that's reinstated again in that 1 Corinthians 14:34-35. I hope this was edifying to the body. Hope we got a little clarity, and got a little advice on, especially with new sisters joining into other congregations, and y'all trying to start up that sisterhood. Be mindful, be careful, thread lightly, man. It's thin ice. It's thin. That's why they call it breaking the ice, getting to know each other. That thing is thin. It's thin, especially with sisters. With brothers, it's thin too. But with sisters, especially, it's definitely thin. There's some things we don't like about brothers, but we may not speak on them. We'll get around those things. We kind of easy to get along with it. But again, sisters, y'all have to tread carefully and quit the jesting. Be of sound speech. Don't be of corruptible speech that can be condemned. Don't be jesting and making fun of sisters' outfits and makeup and etc. Don't be laughing and giggling with just the two of y'all, or just the three of y'all giggling, and the other folks is out there here in the corner. Make sure everybody in on everything. You know what I'm saying? Be not a respecter of person, that James 2:9. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.